This is the 73rd episode of the Effective Executive podcast and YouTube channel. And in this episode, I want to talk about critical thinking for organizations. And I'm running into this a lot more. There have been surveys in the past about executives that don't have great or critical thinking skills, as well as employees in general don't deploy critical thinking skills, and apparently is becoming a lost art or science or both in organizations. And one of the things I see more and more of is lots of myths and legends that exist in companies. They're anecdotal stories about what customers want or need from an organization or company. Data are mismanaged, manipulated, misrepresented, sometimes on purpose, sometimes by virtue of the way things are set up in IT systems. What the purpose of an organization can be different from person to person within the same organization. And these inputs are often used by executives for decision making. And when I talk to executives, the feeling has replaced critical thinking. I feel like this is what we should do, as opposed to getting data and evidence. And apparently, there seems to be a lot more things out. I love a good story. I think you need a story for your organization to tell what it's about. But storytelling and spin have become more attractive than data and evidence. And this is where the critical thinking breaks down in organizations. And one of the problems you get with that are that ego, and you're standing in an organization as an executive, it makes reversing bad decisions even more difficult. So, I made the decision. Now, I've talked about this before in a number of episodes, but making decisions and then kind of standing by it, as opposed to, here are the inputs that I had when I made the decision, and this is why I made the decision. And very few organizations actually keep track of things like that. What was the compelling reason? What were the data? What evidence did we have that this was the right direction to go? What was our original thinking? And then people have to think back, why did we do this? And this is where data and evidence come in order to make better decisions, and keeping a record of why you made the decision you did. Because if those conditions change, obviously then that decision maybe needs to be reworked. So developing critical thinking skills as an executive or as an executive team is more important now than ever. The slop that we've had over the last decade with regards to people investing in organizations and all these high-flying companies that make bad decision, but that's okay because we just keep getting money in, I think are going to be coming to an end. And I've hit upon this in a number of the episodes here recently. So now's the time to start focusing in on getting data and evidence in your organization as a way of making your decisions. So how do you develop these skills of critical thinking? There's, to some degree, you almost have to be a skeptic, which I'd have no problem being. I'm very skeptical of going into organizations that tell me things until I see what's actually going on. So do you read a book? Maybe you examine some case studies in a university or in a book. No, that you can't develop critical thinking skills that way. I'm not saying they can't be helpful, but that's not what's helpful to you and your organization. You need to study your own organization. You need to go and find the data and evidence. You need to question everything that's going on within an organization. And many new executives will do this naturally because they see something. Why are we doing that? And then either smack down or somebody takes to heart what they're seeing in an organization, depending on what kind of credibility they carry into an organization. So, um, so you need to study your organization. You need to go back and look at the data and the evidence. And as I said, need to do this and question things, but do it and question things with others, because all of these perspectives that you're going to get from other executives, people on your team, people from without your team, will all give you a broader view of what's happening in an organization. Now, this is kind of what I do, and I don't necessarily call it critical thinking, but I do believe that synthetic thinking is critical thinking. In other words, the more you understand about how your system operates, how things, the interactions that go on, the data that's collected, the policies, the training, the rules, the more that you see and understand about your organization, the better executive you're going to be, or executive team you're going to be, because you're going to see things differently from what you're being told. And I really have difficulty in, in working with larger organizations. There's layers between the top and the bottom, and or the front line of where things are actually happening. And what gets filtered to executives is seldom the truth of what's actually happening. And so you, as a team, you have to be proactive in going to the front line, listening to the interactions with customers, understanding the policies, the procedures, the training, everything that's going on in your system and how it operates. And then you can start to rely on some of the things that you're getting in reports and things of that sort. But you need to be a constant critical thinker, questioning things. And I know that can make people feel uncomfortable. And if you're constantly doing it, if it's something that you do as an executive team or as an executive, people get used to it. And then they know that these are the types of things that you're interested in knowing more about. We made this change, and here's why we made this change. And it doesn't mean that you are micromanaging everything that a frontline person is doing, or what you're doing is trying to understand how that system operates. You're not micromanaging. You're in essence trying to get an understanding of, gee, I thought I was aiming over here, but everything we're doing is going this way. And so you have to be able to see, in essence, within your organization, and develop these synthetic thinking skills and how a system operates, how your customers react to it. And it's something that you need to spend time on in your organization. I want to talk about this week because critical thinking does seem to be something going by the wayside. I see more and more executives coming in that manage by feel, and sometimes they're successful with it, but oftentimes it gets them into trouble at some point later because of things that they couldn't or didn't think of. And you're never going to know everything in a system that operates. I'm not a believer in central planning and things of that sort, but the more that you know, the better the executive that you can be, so that when you do get something that's counter what you believe is happening in an organization, you can redo your assumptions by using data and evidence to correct some of the myths and legends that you may have heard or assumed within your organization. So that's what I wanted to cover this week, and I will catch you next week.